Hello everybody, my name is Robert. If you want to contact me, you can do so on Slack or on Twitter. That's my usual handle, Roschäfer. And I'll also introduce what I do if I don't do smart shopping carts. I'm developing with a group of volunteers a web application called Rundfunk Mitbestimmen. Every home in Germany has to pay for public broadcasting, and on this app you can basically publish which broadcast you want to support. And with that data, those broadcasters can improve the program. Very simple, and it's also built with Ember. We are looking for developers. Nice open source application, please get in touch. Of course, it's all online and you can even try it out. The URL is rundfunk-mitbestimmen.de. Okay, this is Jacob. Jacob is a friend of mine. He's a journalist and he's usually writing about science. And he has a lot of crazy ideas. So this picture shows him at Republica last year, and he is holding a sensor in his hand. So his idea was, hey, let's build software to automatically write reports and news based on data. And his idea was, yeah, we can find lots of data in agriculture. So he's basically showing a sensor for the stomach of a cow. And this sensor is labeled reporter box, and it is supposed to write about the data, the health data of a cow, and write a report about that. So this really crazy idea is just what Jacob always does. And a couple of months later, he asked me, so if you think that's not reasonable enough, there's even a more reasonable idea. Let's build a shopping cart that can display the news while you're in the supermarket. Another crazy idea by Jacob. And he asked me then, hey, do you want to build this thing? And I said, well, no, I don't want to read the news in the supermarket on my shopping cart. I want to go shopping, not read the news. And he said, well, don't worry, it's just the basic idea. We'll meet again, and we make a design thinking week where we can think about the idea. And so this is the schedule. I don't know if you are familiar with design thinking. It's an agile methodology to rapidly build prototypes. And this is the schedule. So the first 2 days were just about requirements and really getting this crazy idea into something more reasonable maybe, and 2 days of implementation and 1 day of testing this thing in the supermarket. Right? So we had a supermarket. We all met in Lüneburg, which is a town close to Hamburg, and the idea was to test this shopping cart in the supermarket. Okay, then we gathered together and did the requirements first. You can see our post is there, and we discovered that based on these crazy ideas, the most valuable features for us, if we think of us as the users, were that we have some kind of list of items, and we want to put that into the shopping cart, and those should be checked off. And if we want to read some news, those news should be connected to those products. So I want to learn something about the products that I'm going to buy. And also maybe I have some priorities. For example, I'm interested into buying organic stuff. I'm interested into buying healthy stuff. I'm interested into buying maybe I'm on a low budget and I want to buy cheap products. So I want to, maybe the shopping cart can help me to buy in such a way. And so we discovered that these are the most important requirements for us. And here's the hardware we were using. So this is also our team. We were a group of, I think, 3 developers, 1 guy who was doing embedded systems, and 3 journalists. And you can see the hardware over there. We had a Raspberry, and we had a display, which you can see here on the shopping cart. And we had some buttons, right? So this is already an early prototype, I would say. So just to give you some kind of image how this actually looks like. Now, we wanted to have this display very interactive, and we all are familiar with web technologies. So we decided, let's build a single-page application. The single-page application will be served by the Raspberry. So this will spawn a web server and is also able to open a browser. And this Raspberry is connected to a small display, which you could just saw. And this will be go on full screen and show the browser. And since we wanted to have it very interactive, we decided we want to have a single-page application. We want to use a single-page application framework for this. And this is where Ember comes in. So nobody had actually an idea what to use. We all had different backgrounds. People were more familiar with plain HTML and JavaScript. And I was starting to learn Ember. And so I said, well, maybe Ember is a good framework for building prototypes because it has batteries included, right? It has a data layer and it has many things built in, so I don't have to configure everything. We don't have a lot of time, so let's do this quickly. Maybe Ember can help to build things very quickly. And also Ember comes with a data layer, so if we later on want to have a database with all the content, like the information about those products, we can just store it there and we have everything set up. We used Mirage for this, so for the prototype, everything was on the Raspberry, but just think of a supermarket where you have Wi-Fi and every shopping cart is connected to the internet and can get the information from there. So this was our paper prototype. So we can see different screens. You can see those buttons at the very top, and you have two buttons for navigation on the left and on the right. So those buttons were basically switches. You could say every button is one priority. You could say, I want to buy organic food. And you could set that on true. And then this shopping cart will tell you about products, about organic products. Or I want to buy cheap stuff. Or I want to buy products with a little amount of sugar. And I think the last priority was regional products. So I don't want to buy products that have a large carbon dioxide footprint, right? And you have two buttons for navigation. And basically you have one product and you have an RFID. Oh yeah, most important thing, an RFID reader, and every product is tagged with an RFID. And then you scan it, and then you see the information about this product. So that was the idea. That was the idea with the paper prototype. And one thing we learned is it's very, very important to try it out. So before we even coded, we had this thing on test with a lady who just passed by. And we asked her, hey, do you want to get involved into development of this shopping cart? And you can see me, how I'm explaining her how this thing is supposed to work. And there's another person sitting there who's reporting all our learnings and all the failures. And Till on the left side, he's holding the products. So he's basically some kind of shelf offering the products that you usually would buy in a supermarket. And that was one learning. So for example, one failure was she didn't know how to scan a product. So okay, I want to buy this, and you just put it into the shopping cart, and she didn't know that she has to put it on the RFID scanner, for example. So there was a learning here. You have to mark the place. This is the RFID scanner, put the product here. Or she wanted to compare two products, like how do they relate? What is their price, for example? And also what we didn't think about was maybe she wants to put the products out of the shopping cart again. Right? So doing this early prototype is really, really important just to get some quick feedback. All right, now, I think you kind of can imagine how this system works, but there's one problem from the technical side. We have the Raspberry Pi, who's doing the server, and we have the display. But ordinary web applications are supposed to work with a mouse or with a keyboard. And we don't have a keyboard or a mouse. We have physical buttons and we have physical switches. and we have the RFID reader. And those devices are connected directly on the hardware side with the Raspberry. So you have some kind of Python script, for example, and you can get the events, but how to control the browser. Do you see the problem? How does anybody has an idea how to maybe solve this problem?
Why did you decide to pick a browser for this thing? Because my first thought, if I were to build something like that, I would probably maybe use C++ or something.
Have you tried compiling Gattaca on?
No, I'm asking just why. Because this is my basic thought, but I never had this idea before. This is basically the 5 minutes I just listened about it. But what were your thoughts at the beginning?
That's a perfect question. So the reasons why we didn't choose C++ or something similar, because nobody of us can or is familiar with C++. So we used the web technologies more or less as an interface. Oh yeah, we have to develop some kind of display, and if you write HTML, it's very easy, and you can quickly prototype something. I don't know if you can develop something similar with C++ in 1 week, or basically 2 days.
If you don't know C++, then basically you know.
Yeah.
Fred. Many years ago, I developed some user interface code using C. It was an X Windows, and it was very tedious. Mm-hmm. You can work much faster with browser technology.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but we had the same idea. But now, when we decided, okay, let's use web technologies and the browser for displaying, how can you control the browser from the server side? Does anybody have an idea, maybe?
WebSockets.
Say it again?
WebSockets.
You're right. There we go. Okay, so WebSockets is a technology for implementing push notifications. So if you're on the server, if you're on a website and the server wants to send you something without requiring you to reload the page, you can connect via WebSockets, and the server can send you a push notification, and then something happens. And this something can also be visit that URL, right? And we did that, and this is basically also how you can use Ember.js in an environment like this, like Internet of Things, embedded systems, and so on.